Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Renee Tarot, and I am going to do a reading. I'll be calling WW3 as the name of what I'm talking about. Some of you will know what I'm talking about because I don't want to alert any algorithms. So we'll call it WW3. Wondering whether or not it is going to happen. So 3 years ago, I did a reading after Russia invaded Ukraine to determine whether or not there was going to be a WW3 then. And I determined that there was not. Now, 3 years later, with all the things that are happening right now, we're going to determine whether something is getting ready to occur. So how am I going to go about doing this? I'm going to go about doing this by just simply asking the questions, and then I want to see what certain countries feel about this situation. As you know, recently Iran was attacked by Israel as a result of wanting to ensure that they do not have nuclear weapons, and the United States assisted Israel by, my understanding is, shooting down incoming retaliatory missiles from Iran. Additionally, the United States recently bombed various nuclear sites in Iran. Iran has, as a result, bombed military installations of the U.S. in Qatar and in Iraq. So this is where we are. China is speaking about this and condemning the United States bombing of Iran. Russia is also speaking out and condemning the bombings on Iran. I haven't seen every single thing about this. I'm just telling you what I have seen. I want to look and see if there will be World War III. Now, there are what you call, I said it, I mean WW3. There is what you call a thing such as contentions or skirmishes or conflict. A conflict is a little bit different than the W word. So let's see. I don't think this is going to be a long video. Will there be a war? A world war. A WW3. I keep saying it. WW3. Hmm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, 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 mm. Okay. These cards don't look like all out war to me, but it does look like there will be more conflict and people will be hurt. This definitely looks like the cavalry coming, and during the entire course of that, it looks like there aren't negotiations. So since we see wands, wands, and more wands, and we know that there's going to be some fighting, and we know that there's going to be some skirmishes, how bad will it be? Okay, so the Ace of Wands tells me that as far as what you will hear in the news, you will be concerned. There will be likely, definitely some deaths reported, definitely some injuries reported, and it will seem like the big stick is out and somebody is about to get their little butts beat. Um, will does it look like, from a tarot reading point of view, that China will, China has some, probably has a hand in certain things because they made some kind of transistor or something and something. But as far as them actually flying out and dropping a bomb, will that happen? That's not probably not going to happen, but they think about it. Will Russia have anything to do with literally flying planes, dropping bombs, or shooting bombs and things of that nature directly, not indirectly, directly? Okay, Russia might get into the fight. Okay, um, how will this affect the United States? How will all of this affect the United States of America? They're going to realize they have to make some different choices with regard to what they're doing, and that things are not quite as cut and dry as they thought. How will this affect relations between the United States and Europe? Relations between the United States and Europe. Okay, so if their ally gets involved, Europe will probably get involved too. Okay, so Europe has the same cards as Russia. How long will this last? And I'm looking at this in months. Okay, so I'm going to say no more than 5 months, no more than five. Will United States soil receive a bomb on this? This is a tarot reading. Understands the tarot reading. Will the United States soil, the mainland, receive a bomb as a result of this conflict? I'm gonna say probably no on that. Just fear of bombs. So swords have to do with fears and thoughts. Okay, so what else do I want to know about this? On a scale of 1 to 10, well, we already know it's not going to be a whole world war, even though the allies of the United States might get involved to a certain extent, and Russia may get involved to a certain extent. It seems like China doesn't get involved. Um, I just want to know what is going to happen with regard to the economy. How does the economy of the United States, which is definitely going to affect the world, how is the economy of the United States affected? I'm going to put down 3 cards for that. Okay, so somehow it's not affected. This definitely doesn't look like the economy is affected. And it looks like we got some good luck on our side. So the other question I want to know is, what's the reason for this? Now, I realize that we are in a dispensation of time where there is a Bible, and in that Bible, Israel or Jewish people, actually it was Israelites, Hebrews, because at that time when they wrote the Bible, it wasn't really the Israel that we know today. But I know that they received some promises from God in their mythology, and now they want to claim land. I don't know all the reasons why they want to claim land at this point. We just kind of know that it probably ties into some feeling of having a promise of land from the Bible. But there's got to be more to it than that from the standpoint of the West and Europe coming into play. Why is this happening as far as the United States coming into play as a form of protecting a group of people that the people in their region don't necessarily like? And we know that in our last reading we saw that there was greed involved, but is there anything deeper you can tell me about motives? Okay, so to some degree it seems like this war has to do with judgment on someone who is not, we already know they feel like they're not cooperating. It has to do with business. There's some kind of business deal that we may not know about. It may not have been reported in the news that's going on, and that somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do. And all sides are trying to grow their own countries, grow their own economies. So ultimately, it's for a standpoint of economic growth and nation building, things of that nature. It's a little deeper than what we think it is. I want to also ask a question, and I have to be careful how I'm going to ask this question. Why do the nations of the West take on a mindset of being the father or paternal figures for other nations? Why do they feel that way? We know that there is a feeling of supremacy in various micro formats, but why is this feeling of supremacy in existence in other formats, in wider formats? Where did this sense of supremacy come from a standpoint of the entire world? It's a new form of empire building, a new form of empire building. Okay, so let's look at these three. You have the Nine of Wands, the person who may be harmed, maybe in the country of their birth, maybe in the country that they immigrate to. But it seems like they come into a country, they leave, they tell somebody else what's going on. Now, this person could represent somebody in the form of a diplomat. It could represent somebody in the form of an ambassador. It could represent something from a standpoint of people wanting to reach out to their fellow man, or nations wanting to reach out to their fellow man and finding that their fellow man is not seeing them in equal light. So it's a matter of who's going to have the power, who's going to have the power, who's going to have the big stick. And if you give us the big stick, we'll give you something. We'll give you a little bit, and then hopefully you will join in with us and let us be the patriarchal figure of the husband. But how does that work out? It didn't work out too well for Haiti. It typically doesn't work out for nations when they get up under another nation and allow that nation to be over them for after the promise of we will help you, we will give you this, we will give you that, we will open trade with you. It typically is not going to be in those people's best interest. So they find out you made us all these promises, we got into this thing with you, and then we had to leave because it didn't turn out the way you thought, and we decided we're going to do it on our own. All right, and they didn't want that to happen. They wanted to continue carrying the big stick. They wanted to continue owning the enterprise, all the enterprises, whatever country it's in. And it's a matter of a new type of empire. All the old empires like Rome and various empires that existed, it was always about paying tribute. Each smaller country who was taken over paying tribute to the larger country, taxes and things of that nature. But it's even more so about enterprise now with regard to the different types of transportation that we have and different ways that we can, how small the world is now, and how vital it is to have international commerce. Somebody wants to be the world leader. So it's not necessarily so much about, well, it is about the tendencies of certain countries and how they go about obtaining that economic leadership. And then it also is about the tendency, based on what we've seen in history, of some countries to kind of just mind their business and want to own what they have in the area that they're in. Well, if you are dealing with somebody who has an empirical mindset, they're not necessarily going to let you do that. So that's kind of where we are now. So yes, this will go on for some months. This will go on for a while. Um, I look, I do believe that it's going to get better within about 6 months. People again will get hurt and things of that nature, but as far as a war is concerned, what would I need to see for me to think that this is going to be a major war? It'd probably have to show up in some kind of major arcana card. I think that there's a lot of, again, fear and thoughts and paranoia that causes this more so than actual threats. And, I've always wondered if there was some kind of alien nation somewhere in the Middle East running all of this and having us running around with our like chickens with our heads cut off to protect them. Is there some kind of alien nation, a nation of extraterrestrials over in the Middle East somewhere that this is really all about? I know this is a weird question, but you gotta ask. I get a no on that. This is just a human thing. So I think that's what we are for now. And you guys take care. Bye bye.